The question is that the address be agreed to, and I call the member for Page. But as I do, I just want to remind the chamber that this is the member's first speech in this House, and I'd ask that you extend your normal courtesies to the member for Page. The member for Page has the call.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I congratulate you on your election to the position of Deputy Speaker. I know a position that you will bring great poise to. I thank my parliamentary colleagues currently in the chamber who have chosen to share this with me. Deputy Speaker, I woke on the 8th of September this year with a great sense of gratitude that the people in my community had put their faith and their trust in me to be their representative in this chamber. I am humbled, yet also excited about getting on with the job they have entrusted me to do. Deputy Speaker, I have had the privilege of having met all the past members of Page, from Ian Robinson, who was the inaugural member in 1984, Harry Woods, Ian Causley and Janelle Safford. They have all been good advocates for our community, and I plan to continue in that tradition. Deputy Speaker, I would like to take you on a bird's-eye tour of the seat of Page, outline what will be delivered to my community this term, why only I believe a good government can deliver on these promises, and lastly acknowledge the support of the people that helped me to be here to represent Page. Firstly, for those of you who have not had the pleasure of discovering the natural beauty of Page, let me take you on a short journey. I want you to imagine that you are a bird and you're flying south. You're on the Queensland-New South Wales border, so it's probably the best way to be going. You are 60 kilometres inland, Deputy Speaker, from the coast, and down below you see a great expanse of grazing country and tree plantations. You then come into the view of Woodinbong, and you realise you've entered a special place. Flying down a spectacular valley, you see Kyogle, home of the bush turkeys, and a community, Deputy Speaker, that is so proudly self-reliant that 40 years ago, when they needed a new road through some rugged country, they simply cleared the land and built it themselves on voluntary labour. You veer east at Cedar Point, Deputy Speaker, and you fly over Bentley before discovering the cosmopolitan regional city of Lismore and its iconic villages. Still heading east, you fly over Alstonville and Wallingbar with its fertile plateau, and if you look left you will see Paul's Macadamia Farm and Craig's Dairy Farm. Flying down the escarpment you see the vibrant centre of Ballina by the sea and the Richmond River meeting the ocean. You veer south now, Deputy Speaker, and you fly 100 kilometres down the coast over communities such as Evans Head and Woodburn, stunning national parks and fishing boats plying their trade, until in the distance you notice the mighty Clarence River. At its mouth are the fishing and tourism meccas of Yamba and Iluka. You fly upriver, Deputy Speaker, past Lawrence, and you can't believe how good this flight is, because now you observe the Jacaranda city herself, Grafton. You then fly up the Nimboida and are overwhelmed by the rugged beauty before turning north over Baryugal and encountering the magnificent grazing country surrounding Tabulum. Turning east, Deputy Speaker, you see the beef cattle of Australia, Casino, before you nestle quietly into the Richmond Valley for a rest. You have just flown over a very special place, God's own, the electorate of Page. Yet, Deputy Speaker, the physical beauty of a place in which people live does not create a community. I am fortunate to live among a group of people where volunteering and selfless acts are the norm. This is what creates a community, is what binds us together. In this parliament, Deputy Speaker, I will be working to improve the lives of the people of Page and strengthen that which holds us together. Our first job has to be to repeal the carbon tax. It was never going to change the climate, and it is a job-destroying tax. And what's worse, it broke household budgets, particularly our ageing population, on a fixed income. I also acknowledge that the coalition government will continue to fund the Pacific Highway at a level of 80%. Federal funding of 80% to ensure the quickest possible duplication of this badly needed infrastructure. The previous government, Deputy Speaker, wanted to revert to a 50% funding split that would have pushed out the completion date. More than $5 billion, Deputy Speaker, will be spent, of federal money will be spent on this highway in the next few years, and most of it will be in Page. This project will save lives, and it will bring hundreds of construction jobs. On completion, tourism and other businesses will reap the rewards by linking our companies with the large marketplaces of Sydney and Brisbane and bringing more tourism to the area. Deputy Speaker, the businesses of Page are also crying out for the government to cut red and green tape. Every day as I walk around my community, they tell me it needs to change. With local business chambers, I am already working to find examples of this restrictive red tape that must be thrown in the bin because of the job killers these needless regulations are. I am also looking forward to delivering on the election promises I committed to during the election campaign. As stated, more than $5 billion of federal money to finish the duplication of the Pacific Highway, $4.5 million for Stage 1 upgrade of Ballina Hospital, completing the upgrade of the Grafton Hockey Clubhouse, an investment of almost $500,000 to provide CCTV and casino to make our streets safer, completing the Iluka to Woombar men's shed, installing new goalposts at the McKittrick Park in Grafton, a new training centre at the Bunjum Aboriginal Co-op, full restoration of the Bellman Hangar at Evans Head Memorial Aerodrome and the fit-out of the museum, upgrading of the Mid-Richmond Neighbourhood Centre, and Green Army projects on Susan Island in Grafton and at Tabulum, and others that are still on the drawing board. Madam Speaker, I'd love to have you here, and I acknowledge you on the job you have given and the great poise that you bring to the role. Madam Speaker, mining and farming can be a delicate balancing act in certain regions. I acknowledge the work done by my coalition colleagues in the New South Wales Parliament, tightening up farmers' protections in relation to coal seam gas mining in New South Wales. I acknowledge my federal colleagues and our position. Our policy is that water and prime agricultural land, as well as built-up areas, need to be protected from CSG mining. I believe, and in my opinion, so do the majority of my community, Madam Speaker, that given current extraction techniques, this policy currently rules out the electorate of Page from CSG mining. Madam Speaker, I would like to explain to this House why I want to represent the people of Page. Good government, I believe, must come from good values. Good values lead to good decisions, and good decisions ensure a good government. So what are these values? Good values are summarised, I believe, in an Australian colloquialism which expresses whether life is productive or not, and that is the great Australian saying of have a go. Everyone in our country needs to have a go. The reason our country has long punched above its weight is because our nation was built on the have a go philosophy. Everything we do in this chamber needs to support those Australians who are having a go. This Australian belief, together with the first Australians, Madam Speaker, of who I believe are the guardians of this nation's soul and give us spiritual connection with our land, makes us the great country we are. The reason I'm a proud member of the Nationals and the Coalition Government is I believe we hold the values that support those having a go, that reward entrepreneurship and that support job creation and that care for well-being in our communities. Small business and the private sector fund every public service job in this country, and therefore it needs to be nurtured. To provide important social services to our communities, we need a healthy private sector to pay for it. And importantly, it is the Nationals which focus on regional Australia and ensure regions like mine are not forgotten. Madam Speaker, I am naturally an optimistic person, and we as a nation have much to be optimistic about. But we do face challenges. I see challenges divided into three areas: economic, social and environmental. Economically, when you include private debt, we are one of the most indebted countries in the world. We must have a government that is prudent and responsible. When the Australians want responsible economic management, they always turn to the coalition, as they know we are the only ones who can do this. Presently, governments around the world are engaging in massive debt creation. Some also are involved in quantitative easing, simply printing money to stimulate an economy. All this within a fiat currency system and a fractional reserve banking model that we operate. Many pitfalls, such as global financial crises, can confront such a system, and we need to be prudent. Socially, Madam Speaker, Australia is a wonderful example of a rich, diverse, multicultural society. We have many institutions which make this system work. Madam Speaker, not least our public education system. We need to continue to support the role it plays, not only in educating our young, but also in building the nation. Environmentally, we have great challenges as the world population increases. Our farmers are well poised to play a great role in feeding the world. Indeed, they are doing so now. We do, however, need to get off our farmers' backs, as with all businesses, and let them do what they know how to do without all the red and green tape that currently binds them. Farmers know the demands of their land like no one else. It was them who understood the concept of sustainability well before the inner city so-called intellectuals stumbled across the word over their lattes and decided that they had the right to tell farmers how they should farm and what they can and can't do.
That's right. That's right.
Madam Speaker, no one can campaign for political office and take a seat in Parliament without the help of others. I am but the face of a team who put a lot of work into winning this seat for the Coalition. Firstly, I wish to thank Ben Franklin and his team at the New South Wales State and Nationals Office, especially Ross Cadell, Tony Starks, Sam Pern and Nathan Quigley. They always had the faith and belief that we could win this seat, and Ben, we did. To my two campaign managers, Andrew Gordon and Faye Boyd, Andrew would ring me every day and simply say, "Kevin, what can I do for you today?" His boundless energy and enthusiasm were crucial and inspiring to me. To Faye Boyd, who garnered troops and resources in the Clarence like a field marshal. You don't say no to Faye. Her dedication and effort were total, and I thank her. To all the federal parliamentary team who visited and helped, especially Warren Truss, Joe Hockey, Barnaby Joyce, Michael McCormack, Darren Chester, Fiona Nash, Luke Hartsoiker, Andrew Lamming, Michael Ronaldson, John Williams, Mark Coulton and Michael Keenan. I thank them. To my three state colleagues for their friendship and support, Chris Galaptis, Thomas George and Don Page. To all the volunteers who totalled in their hundreds and my campaign team, I thank them all. To my office staff, Chris, Peter, Joe and Julie, who are already giving great service to constituent requests. To my father and mother-in-law, Kevin and Pat Webber, whose family history traces back many generations in the local community. My father-in-law's family was one of the first families to settle at Wairala. I thank them for helping keep our home functioning when the campaign was on. Madam Speaker, I am a fourth-generation Australian, and like all families, we have had our highs and lows. One generation wiped out by a hailstorm, others by drought. My mother and father, who have died in recent years, taught me 4 lessons that stand out. Self-responsibility. Only I could generate the life I wanted. Resilience. When things don't work out, don't give up. Compassion for others and community involvement. My father, John Hogan, was always the little entrepreneur who looked out for others in his community. He was an electrician in our country town and once did a job for a friend, a biscuit salesman who was in financial difficulties. Knowing this friend was tough, doing it tough, Dad took the payment in biscuits. I had a great if not nutritious week. I'm not sure if my mother was all that happy with this form of payment. To my mother Betty, who showered me in love and belief and prayers, which I know still protects me to this day from the naysayers who tell you why you can't do something or why something won't happen. To my sisters, Therese and Sue, they're here today. I thank them and their families for all the decades of looking out for their younger brother. To my sister Marg, who sadly died 2 weeks before the election, for the laughter she brought to my childhood home. Excuse me. And to my family, my wife Karen, my best ally, my greatest supporter. Every step of my life's journey, Endeavour has been with her for 20 years. I feel blessed to have her with me. And yes, I thought your television ad was a really good one and better than mine too. To my children, Bridget, Sean and Rosie, if and when you ever have children, you may come to realise how much love and purpose you bring to my life. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I humbly bring a range of my life experiences to this chamber and lessons I have learnt. Through my career, I have invested and traded a multi-billion-dollar portfolio when I worked in the financial markets and learnt the importance of good economic management. I presented an economic update on Sky News for a number of years. I have been a teacher and understood the importance of education to the fabric of our society. As a farmer and small business owner, I know that this is the engine room of our economy. As an investment officer of an industry super fund, I know the importance of super to our people's retirement. But can I say that the greatest privilege I have had is to represent my community in this chamber, and I say to the people of Page, my community, I will always speak what I believe is in your interests and vote for things that are the best interests of our community and our great nation of Australia. Thank you, Madam Speaker.